Welcome to Driving the Human.
To radialsystem in Berlin, but also on www.drivingthehuman.com.
Exactly. We are here among 21 visionary minds, most of them who are in the room right now, including a group of multidisciplinary experts and their incredible work, dotted around this entire building, using every possible space.
Every possible space. This is James Teller Foster.
And this is Matylda Krzykowski.
We are curators of atmosphere, I would say, James Teller Foster. What we have also experienced in the last 2 years, curating atmosphere online, but also actually wishing this moment for us being here together. And we are looking into these different types of proposals, 21 in total, about, they call it the envisioning of eco-social renewal. Have you heard about that?
Eco-social renewal. We'll come back to that, but right now there is a world of immersive experiences and interactive installations here in Berlin, and over the next 3 days there will be there'll be screenings, there'll be readings, there'll be performances, and each are proposing avenues to make sense of some of the most pressing issues that we collectively face.
Pressing issues. Exactly. And each of these visionary minds have come here from 99 countries almost, to present their ideas and speak about their visions. It's basically a convention. Do you remember those?
Do you remember those? Do you remember conventions?
Meeting, a gathering, coming together.
Exactly. It's a place to prototype ideas through, well, togetherness. The fact that we're all here together. I'm a little bit overwhelmed.
Very much so.
Are you actually overwhelmed, though?
I'm totally overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed. Come on. We are live stream. We have an audience, I don't know, of about, how to say, 100 people sitting here.
Absolutely.
21 proposals.
You know, the last time I was here was 2 years ago, on this stage,
True.
for something called Housing the Human.
True. And I've been actually here for the same event, but as an audience, and now we're here on stage.
But I should say, like this kind of, we call it the pool.
The pool, the pool.
You see the pool?
Yeah. But maybe, James, can you also quickly maybe tell us, or the audience also online, what was Housing the Human?
What was Housing the Human? I had to remind myself, right? But Housing the Human was about testing ideas. It was about creating something tangible. And that's exactly what Driving the Human, the event that we're at now, is about. It's about testing ideas. Housing the Human was the first attempt of a multi-year project to ask enormous questions. Simple, but enormous questions. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be non-human? In, crucially, a world that seems to be changing quicker than ever, even if it just slowed down for a long period of time. Importantly, how do we make space to test these ideas, to discuss things that might not be totally obvious, and therefore, in essence, to essentially provoke new ideas in connection to those urgent questions, to provoke discussion.
But, you know, these ideas and the implementation of these ideas always take people, you know? And obviously there's not only one person, but there's a bigger group of people, amongst others, that have created these platforms. And one of them is actually here. It's Freo Majer. He's the artistic director of Forecast and the initiator of Driving Human. So give Freo a big applause, and he's going to give a quick speech about it.
Thank you, dear Matylda and James. I'm very proud and happy about hosting this event and about the fact that all the wonderful contributors could actually come and join physically and be here in person. For Forecast and on behalf of our partners, Architect, HFG and ZKM, I'd like to thank our exceptional contributors and experts, the amazing teams of Forecast and Radialsystem, to our generous supporters, above all the Federal Ministry BMU, and to everybody that made this festival possible. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Matylda and James, for guiding us through the festival.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. You're right. There's a lot of people who have made this possible. We have the easy job because we're just stood here. You know, we had no idea what we were coming to, really, and we've been going through the projects
since yesterday,
since
actually.
Yesterday.
Looking at them, trying to understand them, trying to mediate them.
I dreamt about them last night, so that's always a good sign. How has Driving the Human come about?
That's a good question. So after Housing the Human, we are here to celebrate Driving the Human. And you know what it is. There's an idea, and then it takes time. So it's a 3-year research project, an ambitious research project. There was an open call, an open proposal to people to submit their ideas and bring them to life, possibly. And then from these proposals, and I think there were about 1,000, I remember, was it right? 1,000?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000 even. And 21 were selected, you know, and 21 did actually come from these 99 countries and actually came here, you know. So it's actually really a convention, and world convention, you could say, almost, you know.
It's a mini world
A
convention.
mini world convention. But I sometimes think, like, how can you, I mean, I would be totally overwhelmed looking at 1,000 proposals and making a choice of 21, you know. And the ones that we see here are already very grand, very ambitious. And yeah, I wonder how it actually came about. So, but the next thing would be actually to know, or to tell the audience, what are actually the themes that we will kind of, you know, look into in the next 3 days, James?
Exactly, and I don't have the answer yet. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what these themes are, but there's no better way to find out than just to get going.
Go through it. Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to enter into the first topic, being...
Cosmologies? Something with cosmologies,
Oh my God,
right?
something
What
about
was it?
cosmologies.
And it's
It'll be on the
complex.
screen in a minute. We're going to enter into this first topic with the work of Vincent Rumahloine, with a video performance entitled Sedekah, Benih.
Please enjoy.
Well, I hope you all felt transported to West Java with this video performance that Vincent brought to us. Hi, everybody. My name is Vera Sacchetti, and I'm very happy to be able to talk to some of the authors of the projects that we are presenting as part of Driving the Human 21 Visions for Eco-social Renewal. Matylda and James were talking about themes, and indeed we have chosen to take a thematic approach to the programming that we will be presenting here over the course of the 3 days, especially when it comes to the broadcasts that you are watching here at Radialsystem and at home as well. Other cosmologies, this transport that we felt that was physical, mental, sensorial to a completely different part of the world, leads us to think about other systems and of knowledge, other ways of understanding our relationship to the planet, to each other. And several projects in Driving the Human look towards other approaches. And I'm very honored to be here talking to Eliana, Eylul, Vincent, and Juan Pablo, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what they've been working on and what they're presenting as part of Driving the Human. So Vincent, maybe I would start with you because we just saw this incredible performance. And one of the traditional instruments that is being played in this concert for plants is a karinding, and you have one with you, correct? Yeah. Could you show one to us?
Yeah, this is the instrument. As you can see, it's really small, but you can see also on my trolley. So we're trying to, I met with the band during my off time, and then we hang out, and then they explain me about, actually the karinding also have the understanding, is a tool to understanding the nature, and then, okay. So and then we talk, and then I invited them to the garden to see how it goes, and then you can see the first recording that I did is on the tent. That's where the tutunggulan, it's the specific pattern that used for the seeding and harvesting. So this is karinding. It's like a simple bamboo instrument, but it needs like 3 years to dry, and then it needs to be 6 years old, the bamboo. So 9 years. So it's really quite long time. So
it also acts as a map, correct? Yeah.
It's also as a map for the people here in Berlin. I mean here in Bandung. So this is like, if you can see, like this is like a mountain. They said so. There are 3 parts. And then this is all sign when you are understanding, dividing where is the part when forest for the gods, and then where is the forest for knowledge, and then where is the forest for people to live. So they use this as a tool, and then how to get it. If you see the details of this instrument, there is some gap here. So the first gap you can see here, it's the sign when you divided the mountain. When you see the first spring, so that's the limit. So from the spring to the top, it's all for the gods. And then the second one until the first branch of the river, that is owned by for the knowledge. So they went there to study. They went there for study of like survival and those kind of things. And then the other one is for the people to live. So it's just like the map for them for understanding the nature.
This is but one crucial element of your project, and I think we need to backtrack here a little bit so we can introduce to everybody what you are working on. So you have come here to Berlin from Bandung, where you've started with Mang, a community leader in Bandung. You've been working on a community plot that is a garden that brings people together. And you first brought them together during the pandemic around this idea of planting and sharing traditional agricultural knowledge around the planting of the chili plant, which is a very important plant in Indonesia, a staple of Indonesian of Indonesian food, really. And all this work with the community has led you to not only meet incredible amount of people getting to come together in this garden. But it also has led you to discover these interesting associations, such as this traditional music that is made for the plants, for the harvest of the plant, for the seeding of the plants. And you have already played this music to the plants in the seeding, and there will be harvest coming up soon.
Yeah.
But here in Berlin, you're also bringing plants. Can you explain to us a little bit how you've brought Sedekah Benih to Berlin?
So this is what I think about, like, because these peoples like that I met, they believe that these tools, it really has power to influence the growth of the plants, and it's also a way to ask permission to the surrounding when you want to enter the space, and then it's also a tools to inviting back the animals to eat the crops, because they never harvest all, they only left a bit, so they believe that the cycle is need to be done like that. So I was thinking, like, okay, is it possible to bring this to other side of the world where the plants are the same, and then people, I think we has a lot of in common in the memory collective of plantings, you know. So I want to see if this can be done here. So I asked the driving team, like, which of, for sure I cannot bring chili seeds, because I asked my friends here, and they're like, it's not impossible. It's impossible to grow it in October. So you guys bring me the salad. So yeah, I really want to do like really simple things, like sharing the living things, like sharing life to others. So what I did here, like I'm planting 300, more or less 300 seeds of salad, which is played by the recording sound of the tutunggulan from in my tent, and then I hope people can come and then collect one, and then bring back them home. Where if you like, you can register yourself, because today is like data management, it's become like a big thing. So I just like, if you like, you can register to our website, and then we can celebrate again in 2 or 3 months about harvest together through Zoom, because now we can meet up easily through Zoom. So I think it's possible, because also now in Bandung, everyone, there are, I think, 50 more people start to connect it every day about the chili. So different age, different background, different religious, different gender, they are like keep on talking in the WhatsApp group. So I think this idea of togetherness and sharing the seeds and the life, I think in West also it's going to be the same, because for me at the end we are all the same. So that's what I want to see here in Berlin.
So we of course invite you all to come to go and discover this installation on the outside. Thank you, Vincent. Eylul, you came to Berlin from Istanbul, but your project has been concerned with a specific region in rural Anatolia. You've called it an indigenous production landscape in Turkey. Can you explain to us what an indigenous production landscape is?
Yes, of course. Actually, this phrase is used by Doğa Association in Turkey. Indigenous production landscapes are very few remnants of indigenous agricultural landscapes in Turkey. They are all scattered around Anatolia, but very few of them are living. And one of them is Taşlica, which I have been working in. And Taşlica is a very secluded place, so this ancient methods, production and living, ways of living are still alive there. So that's why I thought that this place is really deserve attention and should be worked on, and just to be we can learn lots of things from there, not just from Taşlica, but from any indigenous production landscapes. But this is just an example of these landscapes. I stayed there for 2 months almost, and I tried to understand how they relate to the world. They relate to the world in a different way, but I tried to understand, but I also understand that 2 months is nothing to understand such a thing. So
you spent your summer there documenting, talking to people. It was not your first time there, you had already been there before. And what you came across was not only a barren landscape where it's very hard to sort of subsist and continue to exist, and so there's very interesting relationships towards water and the limited or the scarcity of water in this region, and how both humans and non-humans sort of move in the territory based on that relationship to water. But at the same time, you also were interested in this idea of an interspecies communication, because the people that have lived there, as you've explained to me, they were originally nomads, but right now they've settled. But however, some of that interspecies communications that is typical perhaps from a nomad life has been sort of continued in their settled life.
Yes, that's true. Actually, they self-identify themselves as Yörüks. It means old Anatolian nomads. But there is a very few academic work on this place because, as I told you, it's a very neglected area. So it's not academically known fact, but yeah, they are very close to the Anatolian nomads landscapes, and they self-identify themselves as such. And there are also some living practices of Anatolian nomads in southwestern Anatolia already. But yes, they are already settled and they are making agriculture, and also they are living with animals. And as you already told, all of their lives are framed through reaching to water. So water is very short in this landscape, and they are still using the wells, very old wells. So all life flows around the wells, and so that's why the humans are somehow framed their life through the animal's life. So they somehow have an embodied knowledge of being an animal. Maybe it's too much to say, but this is what I felt there. Mm-hmm. So that's why I wanted to show you what is unique about this place, and because it could be hard to imagine, but while I was there, I felt that they still live in such situation without water, and they survive, and they have found various unique ways to adapt in this landscape, and these ways are protecting biodiversity and all other species in this area. So this is why I was interested in this area.
Well, we're going to invite you all to visit this region through some documentation that Eylul has prepared. Let's watch it.
Anadolu'dan Akdeniz'e doğru uzanan 3 yarımadadan biri olan Bozburun Yarımadası, derin dağ yarılmalarına ve iç içe geçen yükseltilere sahiptir. Antik dönemde taşlık kayalık yarımada anlamına gelen Trakeo Chersonesos olarak biliniyordu. Aynı şekilde yarımadanın karayoluyla ulaşılan en uzak köyünün ismi de Taşlıca'dır. Taşlıca ve çevresinde o kadar çok taş var ki, yerel bir efsane, Tanrı'nın dünyanın bütün taşlarını eleyip hepsini köyün üzerine döktüğünü söyler. Bozburun'un su kaynakları oldukça sınırlı. Bu nedenle suya erişim yarımadadaki yaşam biçimini önemli ölçüde belirlemiş. Bu durum Taşlıca köyü için hala geçerli.
İçiyor bir tanesi şurada.
Köyde 2000 yıl öncesine ait kuyular ve sarnıçlar hala kullanılmakta. Bu kuyu ve sarnıçlar yüzyıllar boyunca suya erişim için tek araç olmuş. Su kuyuları aracılığıyla köylüler hayvanlarını ve bitkilerini sulamak için yeraltı suyuna erişiyor. Eski sarnıçlarda da yağmur suyu ve zaman zaman verilen şebeke suyu toplanıyor. Son 30 yılda dozerlerle kazılmış birkaç gölet, köy için en yeni gelişmeler arasında. Göletlerin kullanılmaya başlanması, köydeki hayatın ritmini oldukça etkilemiş. Taşlıca halen oldukça tenha ve turizm sektörünün fiziki ve ekonomik etkilerinden oldukça uzak bir köy. Bu nedenle köyde temel geçim kaynağı halen tarım ve hayvancılık.
Farklı renkleri var, farklı huylar var.
Dağlık arazi ve dik yamaçlar nedeniyle bölgede tarım arazisi miktarı çok kısıtlı. Köylüler nesiller boyunca tarım yapmak için eğimli yamaçlardaki taşları ayıklamış ve dağların her yerinde ekilebilir araziler yaratmışlar. Antik dönemlerden beri insanların peyzajı ihtiyaçlarına göre düzenleyerek oluşturdukları tarım terasları hala kullanımda. Köyün suyu ve tarım arazisi çok kısıtlı olduğu için köylüler doğaya uyumlu, hareket temelli ve yağışa dayalı bir tarım yapmaktalar. Tarım ve hayvancılık mevsimlik bir döngü içinde ve birbirini besleyen bir sistem içerisinde yapılıyor. Taşlıca Havzası'nın en dar yerinde vadiyi ortadan ikiye bölen, etrafı teraslar ve taş duvarlarla çevrili bir kapı var. Tarlalara giden yolda bulunan demir sürgülü kapı, Ekim döneminde kapatılıyor. Kapının bir tarafı hayvanların serbestçe dolaştığı mera arazisi olarak kullanılırken, diğer tarafında tarım yapılıyor. Bu kapı aracılığıyla düzenlenen arazi kullanımı, tüm köylülerin ekilen tarlalara hayvanların girmesini önlemek için ekim mevsimi boyunca kapıyı kapalı tutacakları taahhüdünü gerektiriyor. Yaz gün dönümünde hasat bitiminden sonra hayvanlar diğer tarafa transfer ediliyor. Hayvanlar hasattan arta kalanları yiyor ve bir sonraki yılın gün dönümüne kadar bu bölümde kalıyor. Rotasyona dayalı bu eski üretim yönteminde toprak her yıl dinleniyor ve serbestçe dolaşan hayvanlar tarafından gübreleniyor. Her yıl kolektif olarak onarılan duvarlar ve teraslar, köyün içinde özgürce dolaşan sığır, eşek ve atlar için sınır belirlerken aynı zamanda çeşitli canlılara ev sahipliği yapıyor. Sincap, kirpi, fare, kertenkele gibi birçok hayvan da bu taş duvarlardan geçerek tarlalara girebiliyor. Köylüler türler arasındaki karşılıklı bağımlılığı kabul ederek bu bilgileri ve eski yöntemleri yüzyıllar boyunca nesiller arasında aktarmışlar.
Hayvanlar bunlara zarar veriyor mu?
Bazı hayvanlar yemeye çalışıyor.
Ama pek buna zarar verilecekmiş gibi de durmuyor bu, değil mi?
Yok, odunlar var, odun koruyor.
Taşlıca'nın ritmi, türler arası etkileşimin sürekli hareketleri ve ona eşlik eden seslerle üretiliyor. Dünyanın yıllık ve günlük döngülerine dayalı olarak geliştirilen harekete dayalı tarım ve hayvancılık uygulamaları, insanlar ve hayvanlar arasında benzersiz ve performatif iletişim biçimlerinin doğmasına yol açmış. Buradaki insanların günlük rutinleri, suya ve yiyeceğe erişmesi gereken hayvanların ihtiyaçları üzerinden belirleniyor. Yaz aylarında her gün sürüler, insanları ile iletişim halinde suya ulaşmak için göletlere veya kuyulara doğru hareket ediyor. Bu günlük rotalar sırasında insanlar, hayvanlarla iletişim yöntemi olarak tekrarlayan kelimeler, jestler ve sesler kullanıyorlar. Bu uçsuz bucaksız dağlık arazide çok etkili bir araç olan bu türler arası dil, hayvanlarla birlikte nesiller boyu yürünen sayısız yol boyunca mükemmelleşmiş. Bu iletişim biçimleri, bölgenin coğrafi gereksinimlerinin doğurduğu kadim yaşam pratiklerinin buradaki halkın bölgeye yerleşirken getirmiş olabilecekleri eski göçebe gelenekleriyle etkileşimiyle şekillenmiş. Bu yaşam biçimi, eski tarım yöntemleriyle biyoçeşitliliği sürdürmeyi ve zenginleştirmeyi başarırken, aynı zamanda benzersiz bir dilin şekillenmesine ve korunmasına da alan yaratmış.
Doş, gel ha! Gel Otta'na gel!
Taşlıca'nın seslerini dinlerken, alışılmış kırsal ses peyzajlarından farklı bir ses fark ediliyor. İnsan sesleri, hayvanların, rüzgarın ve suyun sesine eşlik ediyor. Coğrafyaya uyum sağlamış ve çevrenin bir bileşeni olarak üretmeyi öğrenmiş bu topluluğun sesleri, diğer varlıkların seslerine karışıyor. İnsanların bu köyde nasıl yaşadıklarının ve ürettiklerinin izini, bunların somut bir temsili olan sesler ve hareketlerden oluşan performatif ilişkiler aracılığıyla sürmek mümkün. Ayrıca bunları takip etmek, diğer kadim topluluklardan öğrenmek için yeni bir yaklaşım tanımlayabilir ve aynı zamanda doğal koruma ve biyolojik çeşitliliğin sürdürülmesi için bir yöntem olarak hizmet edebilir. Şimdi Taşlıca'nın seslerini dinleyelim.
Orada pis ya. Dalı düşen çocuk. Burası da pis.
So Eylul, this was this soundscape that we hear at the end was something that was captured also during your time this summer. Tell us a bit more about this model for other places. I mean, this is definitely something that is important to research, to know about, to map, and perhaps there is not so much knowledge about it because it's kind of a forgotten part of the country. Is that correct?
yeah, it's a bit neglected area, but actually these ways of communicating, like interspecies communication, are not like something very worked on. And yeah, the old people are there are pretty much old, so they're going to be disappear within, I think, within a short time. So that's why I believe they're important to try to somehow maintain them. And yeah, but actually my research process was on the move because I learned everything while I was also moving with animals and humans also. And at one point I realized that by asking questions there's a certain limit to learn things, like it's because there's a very embodied knowledge going on there and I should be on move to learn. So I just thought that this is what is very unique and important for this way of life, because it's like as a holistic looking at the site, this is like a tangible representation of how they live there. When I was in Taşlica, what interests me more the soundscape that I hear. Of course, when you go to rural places from city, you just realize different voices. But human voices was also part of the soundscape, and it was not dominating. They're like as one of the component of the nature, not nature, but the environment. They just survive as other creatures. So I thought that this is a good representation of how they live there. So that's why I think also the relation between the languages, like language and the biodiversity, is also very important, because they are, how can I say, their variety are very parallel phenomena. So that's why maybe keeping one of them would also contribute to keeping the other one. Mm-hmm. So this is what I thought.
Thank you, Eylul. We also invite you to discover more about Eylul's work over in the Zaal, where she's presenting a little booklet with drawings and other ways in which she has recorded this territory through her research process. But from very specific cases of research, I would like to now talk a little bit with Juan Pablo, who is sitting over there at the edge. Juan Pablo is presenting a project called The Tropical Turn, Maneuvers for Planetary Embodiment. And he is going from not so specific in one specific territory. There's several territories that you are speaking about, Juan Pablo. But what I think is very interesting as a starting point to discuss your approach and your project is this idea of the tropical. So you take this notion of the tropical and how it has been used and overused over the centuries, and you take it back to its Greek root, this idea of tropikos, this Greek word that means, in fact, to turn. And in fact, your project signals or aims to signal a larger shift. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, gladly. Happy to be now here. Essentially, Tropical Turn was an investigation that began 8 years ago by exploring ways in which we could redefine our understandings of the tropics, a region that has historically been exploited, undervalued, and over-exoticized, understood as a cocktail of sun diversity and crisis, where fertile grounds face troublesome realities that make people, make tropicals being challenged, being faced to realities that challenge what is possible and what's not almost every day. If a crisis can be understood as a turning point, tropicals have become elastic by now with a permanent state of crisis. Now, the tropical turn plays with the etymology of the word tropics. That comes from the ancient belief that the sun turned from the tropics of Cancer in the north to the tropics of Capricorn in the south during the solstice, meaning the etymology of the word tropics is tropikos, and it means to turn. And I've been investigating how this tropical turn manifests also as a mindset in the way tropicals relate to both their natural, artificial, and hybrid environments by turning around their pulses of them, developing symbiotic relationships with them and dances beyond an idea of control and domination. And essentially an elastic resilience that goes beyond the idea of resistance, and maybe it's closer to an idea of resistance. I believe now we're in times of resistance.
You've said that you're very interested in the idea of flow, and this is a constant in your approach, in the way that you're going about your research, but also it is an acronym for a very specific thing. Could you tell us about the idea of flow as it relates to your project?
Yeah, a tropical term can be understood too as a transition from FLOSS technologies, free, libre, open source software, to flow systems, free, libre, and open wild systems, systems meant to be rewilded to take different forms and mutate according to the specificities of each territory, of each landscape. So situated knowledge, expressing situated knowledges. And yeah, there are many things that I can say about the flow. We'll have a chance to meet afterwards about that. Yeah.
Sounds good. You've also prepared something for us to watch, so I will invite everybody to join us in watching more about the tropical turn, and then we'll come back to flow and other things.
Yes.
There is a shift. Something is changing and something's moving. Some can feel it in the air. Tiny microparticles of dust are aspired by lungs inside humans residing in cities. Some may feel it in plastic microparticles of the water we drink and the food we eat. There is a shift. The magnetic forces of the North Pole are shifting from Canada towards Siberia, and in the long term it might shift to the south of the planet Earth. Poles are flipping like a relay. Some say this time is crisis. Something is emerging. Imaginary lines were drawn on planet Earth. Meridians and parallels, latitudes and longitudes, were composed in a way to intersect each other, forming a grid, a matrix of power, with the main intention to help humans understand and navigate the planet. This mesh of lines not only explore ways of understanding the planet, but also of controlling and dominating it. A cosmology can be understood beyond its mythological connotations as a set of rules, principles, essentially a framework that determines our understandings of the planet, our ways of being, and what we perceive as conceivable. In this sense, globalism can be considered a cosmology too, the dominant cosmology we live in. Nature and culture, civilized and savage, the human and the subhuman, the east and the west and the rest, the global north and global south. This dominant cosmology we live in is deeply rooted in modern binary understandings of the planet that leave very little space to the margins and the grays between these black and white polarities. Dualities themselves have existed in many cultures in the past. What tends to be problematic is not only the oversimplification and reduction of the complexities of our realities, but especially the hierarchies embedded in them. A vertical side is drawn. What is done on the what side of the line is taken as valid, one stone at the other side is rendered invisible. When verticalities are present in our relationships, it is very likely we will relate towards the other in extractivist and exploitative ways. For the sake of modernity, development, and humanity, extractivist projects have been imposed relating to nature in terms of resources waiting to be extracted. In a similar way, we have been translated these verticalities to artificial environments, treating also data as the new oil. What frameworks are determining our behaviors and the way we relate towards the planet? What are the questions we are posing if we keep using words such as who is paving the way towards sustainability or what's driving the human? If we keep thinking a post-capitalist scenario is one universal, singular, hegemonic system, we might be perpetuating the verticalities we have rendered so far. There is no single answer for the complexities of our planet, but rather multiple responses to these realities, a multiplicity of words and cosmologies. Now here is where the tropical turns comes. The past 8 years I have been investigating ways in which we could redefine our understanding of the tropics. The tropics are regions that have been historically exploited, undervalued, and over-exoticized. Very often, the tropics are considered cocktails of sun, diversity, and crisis, where fertile grounds face troublesome and troubled realities that challenge what is possible and what's not almost every day. If crisis can be understood as a turning point, with a permanent state of crisis, the tropics have developed an elastic resilience that goes beyond the idea of resistance and is closer to resistance. The tropical turn is the acknowledgement of a tropical belt that goes beyond binary understandings of the planet in terms of hemispheres, continents, languages, or economies. By introducing the tropical belt to the global north, global south, east, and west equations, we might start breaking these binary understandings of the planet and opening up space for the margins, shifting to pluriversal understandings of the planet. As the Zapatistas in Mexico say, to be in a world where many words fit. But the tropics are not only a geographical space. It could be understood as mindset. The etymology of the word tropics comes from the ancient belief that the sun turned back at the solstice from the tropics of Cancer in the north to the tropics of Capricorn in the south. The etymology of the word tropics is tropikos, and it means to turn. The tropical turn as a mindset is the ability to turn around the pulses of both our natural, artificial, and hybrid environments, developing symbiotic relationships with them and dances with all living, non-living, and hybrid beings on the planet, beyond an idea of control and domination. We can understand the tropical turn as a shift from FLOSS technologies, free, libre, open source software, into flow systems, free, libre, open, wild. Technologies and systems meant to be cannibalized, taking different forms of situated knowledges. In the flow, when you hit the wrong note, it's the next note that you play that determines if it's good or bad. If you keep repeating a predictive pattern, there will clearly be a mistake, an error. If you grow a new pattern, a fractal, out of it, it will be only an event. In the flow, if you view the world as being inert, a mountain is just a pile of rock waiting there to be exploited. Now, you're gonna have a very different attitude towards it. If you grew up raised in the mountains of Peru, believing that the mountain is an Apu deity, it is not about who is right or wrong, but the multiplicity of belief systems. These words, these cosmologies, can be interpreted together. A multiplicity of cosmologies could be repositioned through a planetary embodiment, ways of sensing the planet. What if, when facing the planet, we couldn't separate body from planet? Not only the planet as an extension of our bodies, but as part of our bodies. Then an open pitch coal mine in your face will look like will relate differently if what we were extracting, exploiting, will be our arm or our leg. Phase filters have been regulated in certain regions because they distort our perception of reality. Satellite imagery generate textures that cover our faces, textures from endangered territories that suffer from both legal and illegal mining, deforestation, and environmental activists are systematically murdered. Most of these regions are in the tropics, in Colombia, Brazil, India, Indonesia, among many others. We have learned to appreciate fine, aesthetically pleasing botanical illustrations such as the ones from Celestino Mutis during his expeditions in Colombia, portraying isolated views of specimens that in certain way neglect their relationships and interconnectedness to their environments and other beings. Another view on this will be botanical illustrations by Abel Rodriguez from the Nanuya community in the Colombian Amazon. Botanical illustrations and cartographies that acknowledge the interconnectedness between all living, non-living, and hybrid beings in their territories, an understanding that goes beyond the individual, the indivisible, and is more in terms of bodies, textures, and words. A fractal thinking, an archipelago thinking that overcomes a Cartesian continental one. As the networks of technologies and cultural imaginaries redistribute, our frameworks might shift to pluriversal understandings of the planet with a slight variation, not only to be in a world where many words fit, but to be in a cosmos where many cosmologies fit, coexist, are integrated together, and thus help us to rescript what we think make us human.
Juan Pablo, you've shared with the visitors of this space an experience that can be accessed upstairs in the studios, an experience that is referred to in the materials that we just saw, but it's this idea of planetary embodiment through a very simple experience. Could you tell us a bit about what's happening upstairs?
Yes. Essentially, in that immersive installation, visitors will find themselves facing projections of mining projects in tropical territories, at the same time that their face filters are being generated in their faces using the satellite imagery as textures, meaning putting a cobalt mine in Lubumbashi, Congo, or lithium mine in Chile or Bolivia in your face as if it were acne. Yeah, this is a current exploration on like ways in which these other belief systems or cosmologies could be repositioned, not only by making visible the invisible, but to make it sensible to a certain extent. Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's a feeling. It's a feeling what you experience when you go upstairs. And it's a very powerful one at that too. But I would like to go from your project to the project of Eliana, who is sitting here next to me. When you talk about mining territories and sort of endangered territories, Eliana, you've been working with a very specific endangered territory in Peru. Your project is called Virtual Sanctuary for Fertilizing Mourning. And in fact, it deals with this territory in Peru where several indigenous leaders have been assassinated in the last years. And like in Brazil, in the Amazonas, we see several indigenous leaders being assassinated because of the interests of corporations that want to basically chop wood everywhere. In the case of your project, we are looking at a territory that is very interesting for mining corporations. So rich, fertile territories, as Juan Pablo was talking about in his video. Eliana, can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Yes, so the idea of my project is to create a platform where people can have virtual tours in the Amazonian area that corresponds to the place that now we call Peru. Of course, the Amazonian area is huge and doesn't know about laws and papers and limits. And in the area that corresponds to Peru, there are more than 40 communities, there are more than 40 languages being spoken. And unlike the highlands that were generally very famous also because it's the place where there is Machu Picchu and Cusco and all of these, the Amazonian area in Peru, even though it covers up to 70% of our territory, was always very forgotten, and it was always as if it wouldn't exist. So these communities have experienced different kind of violence in these centuries, and the last decades the situation has been more dangerous because of mining conflicts, oil extraction, deforestation because of the intention of cutting the wood, and also because of a drug dealing situation, because of the illegal plantation of coca. That also puts these communities in danger, so they are always fighting different situations, and this has also been worse because of COVID. The way that the disease and the virus have hit these communities has also killed many leaders and teachers, so a lot of knowledge is right now disappearing. And in this case, my engagement with the issue of mourning is something that comes from many years ago. I have been working with this in different projects, but always trying to ask ourselves, how can we create collective processes of mourning, and how can experiencing collective processes of mourning can help us to transform the realities we live by changing our approaches to politics, to economics, but to the life that surrounds us and that we are part of. So the idea is not only to acknowledge a loss of someone that, especially in these cases, is never an individual loss because of how every being, not only human, but non-human and more than human, are considered part of a big, complex network of relationality in the Amazonian area especially, but also how out of a process of mourning we could help as well to regenerate life.
So also spreading the word about these issues, but also getting to know these territories even at the distance, so that we can start or develop different relationships to these areas and these conflicts that normally are portrayed as, these areas are normally portrayed as empty or as romanticized, exoticized territories where basically nature was super generous and miraculously created a very fertile territory. But now we know that the Amazon is like it is because of this co-creation between humans and more than humans through thousands of years. So the people that is defending this co-creative way of engaging with what we call nature is the people that is right now under bigger threat. And the idea of the project is to invite others to engage with these realities and give them a little access to these territories, also through the stories and memories of the families, friends, and people that knew these leaders. So trying to explain why they were trying to defend these territories, and at the same time sharing their knowledges about the territories, about the way of life, and then basically sharing a bit of these other cosmologies we are talking about.
So you've also prepared some materials that we will be looking at, and they show us, basically they come from a research trip to this territory, correct?
Yes, so luckily I could have the help of a collaborator in Peru. That is someone that we have been engaged in different projects in the last year, many of them that had to do with activism because of conflicts like this kind. So he managed to go to some of the communities I wanted to work with while being here. And in some of these communities, these cases of murder have been very recent, so it was very difficult and sensitive to talk about this. But luckily, in the community of Nuevo Amanecer, Hawaii, they received Diego very kindly, and they made also like a collective assembly to share stories about these cases. In this case, in this community, one historical leader, Mauro Pio Peña, he was killed in 2013, and then his son that became the leader after he died was killed in 2020. So now the new leader is also a son of Mauro Pio, and he is also now under threat because he continues fighting for the community, which also implies not only trying to find justice for the cases of his father and brother, but also to manage to get the land titling for the community so that their lands can be respected. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is what we are going to see. Well, in the trolley you can listen to some of these stories from the community, and now the story or a fragment of an interview that was given by Beatriz, which is also a daughter of this historical leader.
So let's see the materials you've prepared.
Para nosotros, eso como, mira, la comunidad para nosotros es como un mercado, una reserva para nosotros, por decir, acá yo me canso de comer mi arroz, mi estía, me voy para adentro ya encuentro mi caracol, encuentro mi orejita, que dice hongos, y ya, paufil, hay huevitos, todo, como un mercado que vamos a ir a traer nuestro, claro, lo que antojamos nosotros, así es, pero por eso nosotros no queremos perder nuestro bosque, decía el jefe antes, para nuestra generación, para mis nietos, mis hijos, para todos. Sin caso nosotros le vamos a tumbar más adelante, ¿dónde van a ir ellos? Pero mi papá decía, pero nosotros nunca vamos a poder vivir en el pueblo como viven los demás, estamos acostumbrados a comer a lo que produce acá. Acá tenemos nuestra medicina natural, nuestra carne, todo tenemos acá. No podemos dejar nuestro territorio, lo que antes hemos vivido. Así me contaba mi papá. Papá decía, cuando yo les dejo en la casa, ustedes no van a seguirme porque el monte te puede engañar. Casi igualito todo es así, me dice. Y mi papá, te voy a contar una historia, ¿por qué el pajarito llora? Papá, mamá, dice, hay un pajarito con su silbido, dice así. Así dice mi papá. Ya le digo, dice, un día, dice mi papá, le deja a su papá, a sus 2 hijitos, le ha dicho, dice en idioma, Erijaniki, vas a quedar en Pancotsi, en tu casa vas a quedar, no vas a ir conmigo, vas a quedar acá, voy a ir yo con tu mamá a sembrar canela, a sembrar yuca. Ya, dice su hijita, dice, uno no quería quedar, dice mi papá, está llorando, está siguiendo, dice. Su mamá se han ido apuraditos, destrochita nomás. Entonces el más chiquitito la ha seguido, dice, se ha perdido en el monte, dice mi papá. Se ha perdido en el monte, lloraba, dice en idioma, papá, dice, apá y na, dice mamá. Papá, apá y na, apá, Jaucampi, ¿dónde estás? Dice, Jaucampi, buscaba, Jaucampi. Y no había, pues. Y entonces dice, su papá llega a su casa y le pregunta a su hermanito, dice, ¿dónde está tu hermanita? No hay, dice. Se ha ido siguiéndote, dice. Su papá sigue, no hay, en el camino, en el estrochita que hay, le busca, su papá no la encuentra. Y mi papá le dice, ella se ha perdido en el monte, le ha crecido su plumita, me dice mi papá. Su ala ahora se ha convertido en pajarito, me dice. Y ese pajarito, su silbido, vas a ver, te vas a escuchar, me dice mi papá un día. Cantamos en la chacra, estamos yendo a pasear, a pescar, estamos yendo todos. Y de verdad, le escuchamos, mira, me dice mi papá, ese pajarito es, escúchale. De verdad, dice así, papá, mamá, dice, ese es, me dice mi papá, así me contaba. Pero ya la dejé descanse en paz, ha dejado bonitos recuerdos, ¿ve? Así era, ¿ve? No era fácil, por eso yo decía, yo he quedado triste, no he quedado alegre desde que mi papá ha fallecido. Nos hacía falta, yo decía, ¿por qué le han matado a mi papá?
Mi papá era bueno, no era malo. Por gusto le matan. De igual manera, mi hermano igualito. Él también era bueno. Cuando llegaba visitas, él recibía. Mi papá decía, cuando vienen las visitas, recíbale. Nunca le traten mal.
Eliana, in these days you will be guiding a meditation upstairs in the deck tomorrow and on Sunday as part of the presentation of your project here at radialsystem. Could you tell us a bit about what's going to happen?
Yeah, so for those of you who have time and curiosity, I invite you tomorrow and the day after tomorrow at 4 and at 8 at the deck to spend a little time away from the screens and feeling a bit of the breeze in our skin. And I will share with you a message that I got from a plant. As you might know, the Amazonian area, but in general, I would say probably all Latin America, there is a big tradition of natural healing and of engagement with the knowledge of plants and more than human beings. And for me, the meditation is a way of giving a small introduction to the kind of worlds that constitute these worlds that are in an ongoing process of extinction. So in this case, it's an experience that invites us for a few minutes to try to imagine how it is to not feel clear borders between our bodies and ourselves and what we consider normally to be outside of our bodies or outside of ourselves. So it's a way of defying these borders and limits and questioning what we normally consider individual and collective, but trying to experience a bit of messiness and to engage with this possibility of entanglement with what normally we consider to be outside of ourselves, and which is very connected to these binaries that Juan Pablo was also mentioning. So it's a meditation that tries to take us a bit outside of these binaries and to be able to go into these other worlds where people still fight for the right to live without hierarchies between human, animal, or plant, and between nature and culture, between civilization and savage, and all of these other dichotomies that I guess most of us here are trying also to defy in one way or another with our practices and researches.
We invite you all to take part. I have a question which I hope would elicit a reflection from all of you as we come to the end of our discussion together. Eliana, in your description of your project, you talk about this idea that hopefully providing access to such particular universes, such as the one that you use as a starting point, will make clearer the importance of the battles happening daily in the world under the most unfair and precarious circumstances. And then you talk about, as a Peruvian artist, such as yourself living in Europe, you say, I encounter here approaches to what is called nature or ecology, still insufficient to the urgency of contemporary planetary challenges. Not only usually anthropo-Eurocentric, but mostly apparently unaware that on other continents, the ongoing struggles regarding such issues are literally matters of life and death. The peoples that until now defend life as a whole, understanding humans as a tiny part of it, face daily apocalypses. And I was wondering if you would like to react to that, and all of you would maybe also like to react to that statement. Does it resonate with you as well?
Totally. I think there could be a stronger acknowledgement of the interconnectedness that we are experiencing also at this very same moment while using electricity that is being produced by coal from northern Colombia. And very often it is said that tropicals will be the first to face the climate emergency. And I believe this front line can be discursive and practice too. So there's where I feel there's a strong need to reposition, to reposition these cosmologies, to see how we can reframe our understanding, so how we have related so far with other beings. That will be something I will say.
Eliana, do you want to react? I mean, in fact, this is part of your statement.
Yes, I didn't want to talk over so much space. But yes, I think it has been a very interesting experience for me the last year since I started to live in Europe. And we were also talking about this earlier. In a way, I could see how much of the things I am have to do with embodied knowledge and with inherited knowledge just because of my upbringing in Peru. So then when I was here, sometimes it was hard for me to translate into words things that were in a way just part of myself, and then to realize the kind of words or discourse of theory that people sometimes is using here to talk about global warming, or also of dystopic scenarios, or also with narratives about the end of the world that start to appear because of global warming and because of COVID. But I guess for most of us in the global south, all of these dystopic scenarios and end of the world situations are not coming from the future, but are coming from the past. It's basically an ongoing process of extinction that most of the people in the global south has been fighting with and trying to survive in the last centuries, and at the same time with an enormous strength and creativity and love for life and for the defense of life and for the capacity to regenerate life. So I think right now what is urgent is for us to find ways of translating these different experiences and worlds, and these different also understandings of time and of what is past, present, and future, and to defy these narratives that maybe right now makes us all feel that we are reaching some kind of apocalypse in the future, but actually we can complicate a bit these linear narratives and just to mess up these categories and help each other to navigate these different experiences that we have. And actually this is a very privileged and fortunate situation for us to try to learn how to do this. And I think we are very lucky in this sense to be able to engage with these ideas, and also with this, by example, thinking about sound. No, I was also thinking in your contributions, by example, sound as a sense to take the importance out of the sight, no, that has been so predominant, or tactility. And so, well, I could start to go on about the things we have in common, so I don't know.
Do you guys want to add something to this? Eylul, Vincent?
Actually, yeah, of course, for the context of Turkey, this is also a very critical problem. But actually, I wouldn't say much about it, because in my context, like environmentalists are not systematically killed, and so the situation is not that harsh. Of course, they are killed, but not that systematically. But of course, it's a part of our lives. This is how we live already, like even in the city, or while you are, for example, when I was in this village, the forest fires came up, and actually when I was listening about your project about the loss, I felt very much about the feeling of loss, but it was a collective feeling there, because there was huge fires, and they couldn't just stop it, or they just didn't want to stop it. And I felt this collective feeling of loss but this feeling is not for humans, because humans are not, only few of them died, but for all the forests and for all the species lived in the forest. And this is something I just realized there, this feeling. And of course, yes, they are living in threat, and we have been living in threat, but it's nice to talk this here right now.
Yeah, in my case, like I started from what I have around, like around me. Like I've been lucky, like I met with the peoples, you still practicing and then still have this knowledge and really connected with this like really well. So where I stay is like a little bit in the suburb area, which is like only 10 minutes away to the central of Bandung with 4 million people. So it's quite. So I was shocked when they are still know this knowledge, but kind of like they are putting it away because it's not relevant enough for the modern people, let's say. So somehow, like in the contemporary art, I think there are many like sophisticated words that somehow they don't understand, and then they feel like, okay, I don't understand what you're talking, so my knowledge is not important. For example, the 3 groups that I invited for the performance, they never like talked before, especially the electronic music and the traditional, because they kind of like have a different life, and then they use a different word. So for me, it's important for us to bring the bridges between, so they can start to communicate it, and then they can find the similarity between them, and then especially for the traditional musician, they can start to understand that what they did is actually important, not being marginalized by the city, because they don't do the academic things, this kind of thing. So what I think is important to tackle these issues now, like especially in the urban area, trying to find the bridges in between. In case in Bandung itself, is like there are many people like living in the suburb that still practicing this, and then they willing to do it. as long as we hit the right button. And then it's really crazy. They are like coming away from like really far, like 1 hour away to our garden just to watch, just to being involved. Because in a way, we managed to hit the right button, and they are feeling that, okay, so my position and my knowledge, where I believe from my grandfather and great-grandfather, it's accepted by this group. So, and then starting from there, they are being open. So now we are going to the direction that we start to like sharing the ideas and then see what we can do together in terms of the like waste management in the area where we live. So, you know, it's kind of hard thing to deliver before, but now I can see it like more clearly that we are hitting the right button in the community where they are like, okay. So, and then they also own the project. So now Sedekah Benih is like owned by a lot of people. So now they also, and I believe when something happened with, because this kind of project is need to be sustained once, so when it's collapsed, there are many people who holding the projects not to fall down. So I'm trying to, so we are going to that direction, and I'm really happy now. There's so many people who holding the stage. So when I leave, like for example, to Berlin right now, and then they are still like doing it, everything like without. So I know that it's not owned by me, but it's the ownership. It's like for the community. So it's important for me that point. Yeah.
Thank you. Do you want to add something, Juan Pablo?
Yeah, I'd love to. No, many things strongly resonate with me. How I keep looking at how we name things and translate things, but not translate things as single elements, but translate rather grammar, no? And in the process, we shall not forget that these practices are very much alive, as we have seen also with our projects. And so it is not really something that has been forgotten in the past, but that take place in at this very same moment as well. And the more people are squatting these realities, the more present they could be potentially. I don't know, just some thoughts.
It's a beautiful way to end our conversation together. So thank you very much for your time, for your presence, for sharing your ideas, your projects, your approaches with us. I invite you all to continue on this exercise of reframing and using that as a starting point to look at these projects and other projects that we have here at Radialsystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, we're back, everybody. I just want to pick up on what was said. We are lucky. We are lucky to be here. We are lucky to listen to these projects, but we are also lucky, or the people online are lucky to have been here and seeing us. And one thing that I really recall what was said is, it's this idea of a world where many worlds fit.
Yeah, totally.
It's very important. But let's go back maybe to the term eco-social renewal that we heard so often today.
Yes.
James, do you have an idea what it means?
The mist is clearing. I mean, this was quite meditative for me. You know, there was something very soft in this. There was something very social. There was something very ecological. I still, you know, we could talk about the roots of these words: eco, ecological, social. You, me, us. You in
All
the camera.
together.
Which camera's on? This
Everybody.
camera's on. Renewal, something that's happening all the time, but clearly isn't thought through strategically or broadly enough. I mean, part of what we've seen tonight through these incredible pieces is precisely that there's so much to know, there's so much detail, there's so much granularity in everything.
So much to learn also.
So much to learn.
So much to learn.
Okay, Matylda.
Where are we now?
Where are we now? We have to say that this is, of course, a 3-day festival. If you're within a train ride to Berlin, I'm looking at you online, come to Berlin. Why not? Come to Radialsystem. If you are online and you can't come, then we'll be back again tomorrow and Sunday live on drivingthehuman.com. We'll be back to continue guiding you through these projects with incredible moderation, more conversations, more work, to be seen, and to understand that there is an urgency of eco-social renewal in our time. For those in the room with us here, the night is young and full of horrors. No, the night is young and it's full of excitement. In all the spaces of Radialsystem, we hope to see you upstairs.
You should be really in theater, James. But we're here to end this day and the first project that I've seen with another project. And the project is Hyeson Jeong's The Backpack of Wings, Modern Mythology, a vision that ties together seismic disaster myth and future tracking technology for wild animals. And as history actually says, animals knew it beforehand. So big applause
No,
for
I have to say, before we applaud,
What?
I'd say that when I saw this, I loved it. I love this piece. You should go up to see this piece. But yeah, thank you very much for being here. Enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow, we hope, online, physically. Yeah, and let's get the energy. Let's maintain the energy. All right.
Listen, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Can you see Mavin?
Yeah, he's having dinner.
So, we've decided the place where Heidi, Mavin, Yo-Yo, Loki, Sijin, and Gustav are going to migrate to this winter.
It's a place where the trees are suitable for nesting, the water hasn't dried up, and the environmental pollution is low.
Got it. It's more southeast than last year.
Above all, it is a safe place where our communication with their backpacks will not be interrupted.
When does the migration start?
The temperature is said to drop by 5 degrees in 3 days' time. Let's start then. We'll have to check their backpacks once more. And please, back up the recommended migration route.
Once upon a time, there was a snake under the water that always wanted to be a dragon. And before that, there was a time when birds, dragons, and humans lived together. When dragons brought clouds and rain, the land became fertile, and the farmers worshipped them. Dragons held pearls in their mouths, and birds flew without backpacks by feeling the movement of the earth and the flow of the air, and gave directions to dragons.
Tim, did you send them?
Yes, 15 minutes ago.
Where are the birds flying?
Even without being told who was going where, they knew where to go.
Let's send a signal to Yo-Yo to go further southeast at 7 o'clock.
Humans in the past just wanted to know why they go and where.
Crop damage due to typhoon, roof damage due to hurricanes, building damage due to earthquakes. Don't worry, know in advance and get ready. We use ultra-high-quality, real-time geological atmosphere analysis and animal tracking data near you to detect natural disasters in advance. A disaster warning without error will alert you at the right time. No satellites in your country? No problem. Old satellite image data is now shared. Plus, drone photo data. It's ultra-high quality, guaranteed. We protect your valuable assets with our animals' datalyzed intuition. A-Sense Insurance's Sense Proposal. Full compensation in case of damage. Full compensation in case of alarm error. Enjoy the Premium Plus package. One-on-one matching service with animals around you. You can get their sense of disaster prediction faster.
When the dragon ball falls into the toad's mouth, the time of transformation comes.
As I flew into the sky, I was biting the pearl tightly. My eyes, ears, and nose are in the pearl, feeling the echo of earth and sky. Yesterday, I felt the slightly shaking earth and flew up into the sky. Then the huge vapor started to gather around me. Clouds and raging waves wrapped around my body. Some people call me Dragon Ascension. Then the pearl opened at that moment. The storage of my senses opened, and the pearl went up into the sky, making a strange sound. Under the sea, my past life is breathing. Me 500 years ago. At that time, I was also an underwater snake with yellow stripes. I had a more sensitive sense in my previous life, though. I could hear a low cry 10,000 kilometers away from the ground. You want to try to hear? It was a very low cry that I can't hear now. By the way, where has my pearl gone?
Alert for residents in Zone 3 who have a standard package.
Nests of toads moving north are being spotted. A strong earthquake will hit in the day. Please evacuate to the north shelter.
Alert for residents in Zone 3 who have the Premium Plus package. The alarm your toad sounds. Extreme danger. The toads that are migrating to the northern Furan region had a 1 degree increase in body temperature. The number of toads is 2,354. Compared to the previous record, it is predicted that a 6.2 magnitude earthquake will hit Zone 3 within 20 hours. The amount of property damage is estimated to reach 25 billion, but those who have taken out our premium package will be compensated in full.
Well, they're flying on course. By the way, did you get the earthquake alarm yesterday? I got the message. Tomorrow a strong earthquake will occur in Zone 3. Have you checked the birds' migration there?
Yes. All but 2 birds are already moving south.
Which ones aren't?
Loki and Sijin. I've been sending signals to them since yesterday, but there has been no response. As their location is being tracked, it is clear that their backpacks didn't fall off. They might know that the earthquake is coming soon, but why aren't they leaving? It's weird.
There might be a problem with linking the information to Hyesen's insurance company. Let's find out more.
We inform the residents once again. 6.2 magnitude earthquake is expected in Zone 3 tomorrow. Evacuate to the north shelter.
I got dice on my back with some awesome deep to pack. Never ain't going back, cause the way's over there. After early bird, I'm the oversleeping G. I blaze blows E with the juicy double V.
Get the premium backpack now. MBSC, your life partner.
Sijin, do you remember when we didn't have backpacks? You remember where we flew and how we lived at the time?
No, I've forgotten everything. I don't want to remember those hellish times.
My backpack hasn't provided guidance for a few days now, so I keep thinking about that time and I feel anxious. What about you?
If the backpack is silent, then this is where we should be.
Right. Would that be right? Is your backpack silent too?
Yes, we have to believe in our backpacks.
Of all species on Earth and to predict the atmospheric conditions. Penguins in the Atlanta area are on their way to find new habitats. Humans in latitude 37.3 are moving north, pursuing the toad's census. The typhoon passing through the Pacific Ocean will soon disappear. Signals from elephants at the equatorial regions are expected to be received tomorrow. Zone 3 migratory birds are proceeding south according to human signals. Zone 3 catfish are observed jumping out of water in the upper stream. Precise observation of Zone 3 required.
Before I took out this Şenses insurance 4 years ago, I checked out several animal profiles on their app. Among them, I picked a blackbird called Loki that looks a bit common. Somebody asked me why I didn't choose snakes or toads with good seismic predictability as matching animals. I chose Loki because he looked familiar to me. After signing up, I used to check Loki's status once a day. A few times in the beginning he flew away. Knowing quite precisely before the earthquake occurred, believing in Loki's senses, I survived several crises thanks to evacuating quickly. As if he was getting more and more adapted to city life, Loki flew around only in a specific area. After a while, I began to think of Loki as a friend who lives somewhere near me, more than just part of the insurance policy. One day, I secretly installed cameras where he usually flies. My wish was to see him once rather than the dots on the app. Several animals were captured by the camera. There were some blackbirds that looked similar to Loki. The problem is that I don't even know which one Loki is. Who are you, Loki? Which one are you, Loki? But for several hours today, he's still in one place. Whether or not Loki's sense of earthquake prediction is wrong, I have not gone to the shelter yet. I think it is my first and last chance to see him.
This is the photo I just received from Zatra. Check if it's Loki and Sijin.
That's right in position. Looking at the scan data inside the backpack, it seems that our migration guidance signal was cut off.
We should have checked the backpacks. This is our fault. The earthquake will arrive soon, but why don't they even think about flying away? Still, they are birds, so they will avoid earthquakes in their own way.
Can you hear that? The ground is shaking.
Yeah, I've been listening to it.
I don't know why, but I keep feeling like I should fly somewhere else. Even if the backpack isn't guiding me.
No, I don't have that feeling.
Have you heard of the Yanoashi? The humans believe that when the ground is flat, a more livable world will come. It's because they get a lot of compensation. A lot of money. Money. I feel like I heard that word somewhere before.
I only believe in my backpack. It will protect us.
I think it's right to leave here anyway.
I will stay here.
That GPS will guide us safely to